We've got a great pattern for fetching information off of our contract now, so let's pull some other properties off of our contract and then get them to display on the screen. If we go back to our mockup, you'll recall that we wanted to show a couple other things to the user. So we probably want to show how many people are currently entered into the contract and how much money is at stake to win. So we need to fetch off both the number of players who are currently entered, and we also need to get the balance of the contract. These are both things that we've done in the past several times, so I think this will be a pretty quick little task. Inside the component didMount method, I'm going to add on another variable here. We'll call this const players, and this will be coming from lottery.methods.getPlayers.call. The getPlayers method is a function that we had defined back when we were writing our contract inside of our lottery file. So here's my code editor with the lottery contract right here. Here's the contract, and you will recall that at the bottom we had defined getPlayers, and that returns the entire array of addresses for every player who has entered. So we're going to take this array of players right here, and we'll add it on to our state object. Of course, since we're adding on this additional property to state, we should probably initialize the property inside of this class instance right here, or excuse me, the instance level property. So I'll say players is going to be an empty array to start off. And then finally, I think that we need to get the balance of the contract as well. And we should print out the balance because that's going to be how much money is at stake to win if someone wins the contract. So underneath the players, we'll get balance, and this will come from web3.eth.getBalance. Again, you'll recall that we used this when we were writing our test just a little bit ago. We call getBalance, and then we pass in the address of the account that we want to get the balance for. In this case, it's going to be the address of our lottery contract. And recall that we can get the address by referencing lottery.options.address. Again, this right here is something that we saw when we were writing our tests a little bit ago as well. Let's make sure we add balance onto our state. And then we should also initialize balance to be an empty string too. Now in this case, remember that balance right here is supposed to be a number in way, but you'll notice that I initialized it to be an empty string right here rather than a number. This is something we haven't really spoken about just yet in this course, but this object right here, balance, is not actually a number. It's actually an object. It's a number that is wrapped in a library called BigNumber.js. Again, this is something we haven't discussed yet, and we're not going to go too deep into it right now, but we'll get a good sense of what this big number thing is later on. So suffice it to say, for right now, we're going to initialize balance as an empty string. All right, so let's now take these two new properties and use them inside of our render method. So inside of our p tag, let's give ourselves a little bit of space. And then we'll say, let's see exactly what we had printed on here. So we should be saying there are currently blank people entered competing to win some amount of ether. So there are currently this .state.players.length people entered competing to win. Did I spell that right? Competing, yep. Competing to win some amount of ether. And that ether is going to be this .state.balance ether. Now just hold up a second here because this right here, this .state.balance, isn't exactly correct. Remember that this is going to be the amount in way. And we don't really want to print out this gigantic number in way. It'd be a lot more meaningful if we printed out the value in ether. So we will again use the Web3 utils module to convert this from a value of way over to a value of ether. So I'm going to replace that with web3.utils.fromWay. Notice that this method name is different than what we were using before. In the past, we were using toWay for whenever we wanted to convert from some units over to way. In this case, we're going from units of way over to some other type of unit. So that's why we're using this slightly different method here. So now we can do this .state.balance. And then as a second argument, we need to specify the units that we want to see. So we want units of ether, like so. All right, let's save this and see how we're doing now. I'm gonna flip back over to my application inside the browser. And all right, so we've currently got 0 people entered and they are competing to win 0 ether. So that's definitely what we expect to see right now. And we're not gonna see these numbers change until we eventually get the ability to actually enter into the lottery. So it seems like that's gonna be something that's very relevant. So let's start working on giving our users the ability to enter in the next video.